1854, Prince Bernhard of the Netherlands invites a group of Western European and North American leaders to a weekend conference at the Hotel Bilderberg in Oosterbeek, Holland. The meeting is held in secret, and they decide to make the conference an annual private retreat, which continues to this day.
On the outskirts of the national capital today, black limousines with darkened windows converged on a hotel where private security guards imposed ironclad control. The limos carried royalty, political power brokers, and industrial titans to a secret meeting that will last all weekend. It's known as the Bilderberg Group. Could their objective be world domination?
Well, Bilderberg assumed that name in 1954 at their first meeting as Bilderberg at the Bilderberg Hotel. It's a little bit like Shakespeare's As You Like It. They say to Shakespeare, "What do you want to call this book?" And he says, "As you like it," meaning whatever you want to call it. And they thought it was dictation, so one of his plays is called As You Like It, and the title has nothing to do with the play. So that's how the Bilderberg came by their name.
Okay guys, on this installment of the Conspiracy Chronicles, we're going to be taking a look at the Bilderberg Group. The very first thing that you should understand about the Bilderberg Group is what they are, in essence, is just the ultimate manifestation of capitalism. But we're going to take a close look at sort of the history and affiliations and the organizational structure of the Bilderberg Group, but more importantly, we're going to take a look at the conspiracy theories that have evolved around the Bilderberg Group, and again, more importantly, how important those conspiracy theories are to our modern political discourse. But before we do, take a look at the latest video from TSOL.
Here he is talking about the secret society. We call it Secret Society Gate.
You're referring to impeachment, but one of the ones you've talked about, you quoted it as saying, quote, perhaps this is the first meeting of the secret society. You didn't give any context, okay? What was the context? Did they elaborate? What are we talking about, secret society?
It's right after they're lamenting the fact that Trump won North Carolina and that he won Florida, and they're really disappointed in the way the election turned out. And then about an inch down from that is a conversation about perhaps this should be the first meeting of the secret society. And here are two bureau agents talking about a secret society. I don't have a clue what they're talking about. I don't know whether one existed, but you know what, Aaron? It's not my responsibility to prove that. They're the ones who used the phrase. They're the ones that should explain it. I can't tell you what they meant. I can just tell you what they said. And they talking about a secret society right after they were talking about how depressed they were that Donald Trump won.
The secret society.
How many times did he say it? Can we make a drinking game?
They said they were depressed, and then they talked about the secret society. You tell me what that means.
So now they've latched on to the idea that there is a secret society. Now they have a text message. I now have it because ABC News found it and reported on it today. I'm going to share that with you. But before I do, I want you to get a sense of the insanity here.
We have to move against them on every front, politically exposing them as the criminals. They're trying to normalize military coup right now to try to do it. Try to get their people to follow the order to do it. Guaranteed, they've already been given orders to try to get a coup going in these rogue agencies. It had to happen. But they're trying to organize it, and they're trying to work with outside groups. And we're so wide open, ladies and gentlemen, they might get away with it. So I'm here to tell you, Trump needs to come out and address the nation. He needs to point this out. And then we need to see indictments of these people. We need to see Brennan and Clapper indicted for sedition, indicted for treason, indicted for multinational espionage. They're trying to get the talking points out for when they drop a 2,000-pound bomb on Trump, turn the air defenses off, and have one of their crazies. They've already got picked out going there. I'm telling you, folks, the sky's the limit. I bet they got pilots ready to get in warthogs right now, somewhere in Virginia. You understand? The president needs to go in a bunker. He needs to declare this is going on. We're already in a civil war. They admit it.
How does anybody listen to that guy and go, oh yeah, no, they're about to drop a 2,000-pound bomb on the White House and murder the president. Imminent. And he riles people up and then they go, oh, I gotta grab my guns. We're in the middle of a civil war. So here's the full text that ABC News found. Are you even going to give out your calendars? Seems kind of depressing. Maybe it should just be the first meeting of the secret society. In other words, you guys didn't give out your calendar. Why are you guys having that meeting without me? What is this, a secret society? It's a joke, you morons, it's a joke. And they took that and they're like, that's it, bunkers, everybody get in the bunkers. Here comes the secret society. All right, now we go to Lou Dobbs.
We're at the point we feared we might be. There is an all too clear requirement to determine the full extent to which the FBI, the DOJ, and Special Counsel's office have been compromised and corrupted. We've learned in the past 2 weeks that corruption is pervasive, it is deep, and it is determined. Anti-Trump FBI officials Peter Strzok and Lisa Page in their text communications wrote of a, quote, secret society within the Justice Department and the FBI. That society served not only by its members, but those within the department who've remained silent throughout. Of course, the man in charge of the FBI, Christopher Wray, has his own conflicts. He shared the same chief of staff as James Comey until today. Well, it is now obvious to all that what is needed is not mere change, but fundamental cleansing and reform. It's time to investigate the investigators and to hold the corrupt accountable.
They took a portion of a joke text and turned it into, it is now obvious that there are people within the FBI now. By the way, Strzok and Page are already gone. They're already off the case. Now we are going to invent other things and pretend that they are fact when they are not. And then he called for a cleansing. Man, these are scary times.
All right, how is it that we got to where we're living in such scary times? Well, for people to buy into this notion that there is a secret society or a deep state, like the one they're trying to describe in what you just saw, there has to be a sort of foundation for it. And there is. And it really is in the history of all the different conspiracy theories that have revolved around the Bilderberg Group. And we're really going to look into that. But before you really can understand the Bilderberg Group, you have to understand that they don't operate in a vacuum. They really do exist. But it really is, again, like I said earlier, how capitalism works. And so there's all these different sort of organizations that sort of make up this network of how the elite capitalists in the world function and sort of bolster their capitalist programs. And they involve groups like the Council on Foreign Relations and Trilateral Commission and these things, like I said, they're very real organizations, and they do very nefarious, fucking horrible things because it's mostly infested with a bunch of wealthy capitalists. But it's a real stretch to go from that into this weird conspiracy theory concept of where they're all going to take over the world. And here's the thing that you should keep in mind before we really start looking into these different groups that sort of comprise the network that bolsters this concept of the Bilderberg Group that's going to take over the world, is that if you're buying into a conspiracy theory that says they're going to take over the world, you're missing the mark completely. The capitalists already run the world, okay? And this is the mechanisms by which they run it. So all this conspiracy jargon that people like Alex Jones and Right Wing and Steven Crowder and all these other idiots pull up misses the mark. This is just how capitalism works.
On a Swiss mountaintop, armed guards protect a secret meeting of the world's power elite. In a smoke-filled room, a handful of power brokers manipulate the global economy. These are the purported activities of some of America's secret societies, groups with names like Bilderberg, Skull and Bones, and the Trilateral Commission. From the United States' earliest history, secret societies such as the Freemasons and the Odd Fellows have existed. Their rituals, symbols, and secret handshakes have offered an endless source of fascination and speculation for the uninitiated. Now, according to a small but growing number of conspiracy theorists, these purportedly benign institutions are part of a sinister plot.
There is in truth a hidden hand that's working behind the scenes, behind all these apparently unconnected organizations. And they are advancing quietly, unseen, an agenda for world government, world central bank, world currency, world army, and a microchip population. And it's not done openly, because if we knew that was the agenda, we'd scream very loudly.
It's a kind of pseudo-scholarship. It has the form of real scholarship, but it doesn't follow any of the logical rules that are required by scholarship.
Although there are hundreds of secret societies operating in the United States, there are a few whose names appear frequently. They are the Freemasons, Skull and Bones, the Council on Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, and the most secretive of all, Bilderberg. Although many of these groups have a public face and diverse membership roles, conspiracy researchers like David Icke believe these groups are all controlled by one elite group.
The structure by which the world is controlled by a few people, literally a handful at the very top, is like Russian dolls, one doll inside another, inside another, inside another. I call this web in which they all fit the Illuminati, the illuminated ones, illuminated into knowledge that the rest of us don't get. And that Illuminati has been manipulating for centuries to bring about what is now appearing before our eyes.
Okay, some stuff you should understand about David Icke. For starters, he believes that all the elite in the world are interdimensional reptilian shapeshifters and always have been, stretching back since before Egyptian times and before Atlantis and whatnot. And he also believes that the moon is a big giant space station that these interdimensional reptilian shapeshifters docked in our orbit so many thousands and billions and whatever years ago, and then enslaved humanity. With all that said and understood about David Icke, I like David Icke. Still, I like this guy. Yeah, he teeters on being a huge giant fucking nutbag, but he also, his research and a lot of his critique on the actions of the elite are real dead on, and I continue to follow him to this day. But I keep in mind that he believes that all the elites are actually interdimensional reptilian shapeshifters who have their home base in the core of the moon. So with that understood, let's go forward.
Advocates contend that the world is a web controlled by one spider, the Illuminati, that disseminates a globalist agenda through a network of secret societies. The inner circle of the web is made up of 3 organizations.
The Bilderberg Group, the Council on Foreign Relations, and the Trilateral Commission have an interlocking leadership. The head of the World Bank, James Wolfensohn, is a member of this network. So is the head of the World Trade Organization. So is the Chancellor of Germany. So is the Prime Minister of Britain, Tony Blair, and a stream of Presidents of the United States, Secretaries of State, the last 6 Secretary Generals of NATO.
The oldest of the 3 organizations, the Council on Foreign Relations, is founded in 1921.
The Council of Foreign Relations was founded during the First World War, when a university fraternity presented President Woodrow Wilson with a set of proposals that detailed options to reinforce world democracy when Kaiser Wilhelm II was eventually defeated. The proposals were backed by Colonel Edward Mandell House, advisor to President Wilson. Wilson presented the project to Congress in January 1918, where it was approved. And the CFR was officially founded in 1921. Its first sponsors were members of the most powerful families in the US: Rockefeller, Mellon, Harriman, Schiff, Kuhn, Loeb, and Carnegie. It was also backed by important foreign citizens, including multi-millionaire South African colonizer Sir Cecil Rhodes, and European bankers Warburg and Rothschild.
The CFR makes no secret of who their members are or their activities. At least that's how it seems. Its headquarters are on Park Avenue and 68th Street in New York City. Its reports can be freely downloaded from the internet, where the CFR publishes a full web page at www.cfr.org. It runs a newspaper that is the most prestigious political analysis journal in the United States, Foreign Affairs. It seems they have nothing to hide. However, its critics say that it's nothing more than a facade, that the CFR is a dangerous organization, set on achieving full global control through the levers of economy and finance. In other words, they're like executives out to privatize world power.
It is this group, conspiracists contend, that from its founding has also pulled the strings of an American war machine.
When Lyndon Johnson took office and began to take Vietnam as his top priority, he was surrounded by what he was known as his wise men. And almost every one of them, to a man, were members of the Council on Foreign Relations and were pushing for that globalist agenda and for their agenda, which included our control over Southeast Asia.
In 1973, the chairman of the board of the Council on Foreign Relations is David Rockefeller. He brings together some of its most powerful members with elite private citizens from North America, Western Europe, and Japan to form a new 180-member group. It is called the Trilateral Commission.
most Americans really first became aware of these secret societies with the Jimmy Carter administration, because Jimmy Carter, the peanut farmer governor of Georgia, was brought into the Trilateral Commission back in 1972. And within 4 years, he's groomed and runs and wins as president of the United States. I once had the opportunity to interview his budget director, Bert Lance. And I asked him, well, what's the deal about the Trilateral Commission? And he simply smiled and he said, I was the only member of the cabinet that was not a member, and now I'm out.
George Bush, Jimmy Carter, Bill Clinton. When you look at their administrations, apparently different, they are all not just awash, they are drowning in members of the Council on Foreign Relations and the Trilateral Commission. So no matter what the name of the party in power, the coordinating body remains the same.
Pipes, as one of the 3,800 members of the Council on Foreign Relations, says he speaks from experience.
There are sometimes petty conspiracies that take place in the secret societies. People working in collusion with their friends to push out someone they don't like. I've never seen, however, any evidence that any of the so-called secret societies want to take over the world.
If there's one secret society that has every characteristic needed to raise suspicion, it's the Bilderberg Group. Surely the most exclusive club on the planet, and perhaps the organization that really controls the world.
The Bilderberg Group is named after the Bilderberg Hotel in Oosterbeek, Holland, where it first met. Its founders were Joseph Rettinger, a Polish emigre with social democratic ideas, and Prince Bernhard of the Netherlands. The annual meetings that it has held since then have been regarded as true milestones in international politics. For the occasion, each country sends 2 guests, one of whom is conservative, the other liberal. According to Prince Bernhard, the group was created as an entity destined to fortify the North Atlantic unit, to stop Soviet expansionism, and to promote cooperation and the economic development of the countries of the West.
Sometimes to better understand an organization, you need to know more about the people who work for it. There are 2 interesting facts that question the integrity of the founder of the Bilderberg Group. Firstly, Prince Bernhard of the Netherlands was an active member of Hitler's SS in his youth. Second, he had to stop heading the meetings in 1976 after being involved in the Lockheed scandal related to the purchase of fighter jets. On that occasion, Lockheed was found to have bribed Japanese, Dutch and Italian officers.
The Nazi background of Prince Bernhard did not stop the Bilderberg Group from being supported by Social Democrats, or by the Rothschild Bank, or the Rockefellers, both of Jewish origin. Other early sponsors included the Wallenbergs, owners of Electrolux and Ericsson in Sweden. All of them still actively participate in the annual general meetings of the group, either directly or through their representatives.
The only thing that this confirms is that when it comes to making decisions that will affect the world, ideology doesn't really play that much of a role. After all, business is business.
The venue, the agenda, and the participants are not secret. What remains undisclosed, however, are the topics discussed, since the meeting is held behind closed doors, and no detailed reports are published. The conference takes place during a weekend in May, and lasts 3 full days, usually a few weeks before the G8's annual meeting. A fleet of black limousines drives the guests to a luxury hotel or palace of choice. Security is tight and includes members of the attending country's secret services.
Their guests include bankers, top businessmen and media moguls, as well as European and American politicians and leaders. When looking at the meetings, we can get some idea of how the nations of the future will be. Economic power groups owning both the world's capital and the means for production in an overpopulated planet, sick with poverty and short on natural resources.
Past and present participants of the Bilderberg Group include the CEOs of France Telecom, Coca-Cola, Danone, Heineken, JP Morgan Chase, high-ranking British, American, and European officials, and cabinet members, and the editors of newspapers such as El País, La Repubblica, Le Figaro, the New York Times, Die Zeit, and the Wall Street Journal, among others.
What should we think when meetings like these have among their participants the owners of media giants and still their secret agenda goes unreported? Where does their loyalty lie? With their audience or with this secret society of the rich and powerful?
The most popular Bilderberg conspiracy theory states that the group is a test lab for policies and decisions that countries and powerful corporations will later implement. According to this theory, the guests exchange their views on the proposals made by the most powerful countries. Thus, it is possible to predict how these countries will react in real life and fine-tune the ensuing courses of action.
They met in the early 70s at an island off Sweden, and they decided that they were going to hike the price of oil massively. They then went to the Arab oil countries, which they also interconnect with, and they said, look, we're going to hike the price of oil massively. You'll make vast amounts of extra income, but we want you to put it in specific bank accounts that we tell you about. Okay. They then needed an excuse to hike the price of oil. So what they did was created the Arab-Israeli war.
The Bilderberg agenda, according to its own press releases, is the world agenda. Whether its members can then carry it out or not is open to discussion.
Other famous guests at the group's meetings have included Giovanni Agnelli, then president of Italy's Fiat auto giant, and Henry Kissinger. Bill Clinton, Tony Blair, and Angela Merkel attended before assuming public office, as did Kofi Annan, the former Secretary General of the UN. Annan was married to Raoul Wallenberg's niece. Wallenberg, as we stated before, is the patriarch of the powerful Swedish family that has supported the group from its very beginning. Other participants have included Henry Ford II, Georges Pompidou, Helmut Schmidt, and Baron Edmund de Rothschild, together with the father of the American atomic bomb, J. Robert Oppenheimer. More names follow. Donald Rumsfeld, Alan Greenspan, George Soros, David Rockefeller, Queen Beatrice of the Netherlands, and US Senator and former presidential candidate, John Kerry. The list, while incomplete, represents the greatest amount of economic and political power ever concentrated in one single organization.
What does it do when you get 120 of the most powerful people in the world getting together to have meetings with government officials? I mean, that's amazing.
What it is what I mean is that they're planning the corporate agenda. They're not planning the democratic human journey agenda, in my opinion. Mussolini had a definition, is when the interests of the corporation take completely over from all other interests, and that's fascism.
He said it should probably be called corporatism.
Well, call it corporatism, call it fascism, call it neo-lib, neocon. There's a whole variety of political words, depending on which side of the stripe you come from, to start with, which describes the thing. But what they are describing is the complete end of democracy, the end of what matters to people, the end of what happens to the human journey. And for that reason, I think this is revolting.
About 10 have come in. They've been coming in slowly in typically big black cars with what appears to be bulletproof glass, and we've got a few pictures of some of the people. We're being kept well back from the building by an awful lot of security people. But, you know, there'll be more security as this thing develops.
Again, just a reminder, stay off the front, okay?
I am. This is the line. We checked with the city. Get them on both sides. Yeah, you crook. Yeah, you're going to go to jail like Ken Lay. Oh, yeah, there's one right there. Hi. Hey, we're not your property. We're not your slaves. We're going to defeat the New World Order. The New World Order is going to be defeated. You realize that? I'm glad you do. Always does throughout history.
What do you think What's on the agenda for this edition of the Bilderberg Society's annual meeting?
They're debating the attack on Iran. They're talking about how to take out Hugo Chavez. They're talking about how to get their American Union in that destroys Canadian, U.S., and Mexican sovereignty. So we're talking about the death of Canada is what's happening in there right now. The death of your sovereignty is happening in there right now. CNN has even reported that these individuals have put out the policy reports through the Council on Foreign Relations that writes their scholarly white papers to end the United States, to end Canada, and to end Mexico.
Okay, so that's Alex Jones in 2007 outside the Bilderberg conference. Alex Jones essentially built his entire career on sort of exposing the so-called Bilderberg conspiracy. He first puts out a video in the early 2000s of him going to the Bohemian Grove. That gets him a bunch of attention, and then he goes 100% all in for exposing Bilderberg, and that's what he did for years. Basically until the Trump administration came along, because however you feel about the Bilderberg group or its influence on the world or whatever, the Trump administration actually did have the highest number of people represented at the 2017 Bilderberg conference of any presidential administration in history. So it's crawling with this network of people that we just got done looking at in this video. So I called Alex out on that, and we're going to get to that, but actually on InfoWars. But like I said, we'll get back to that. But first I want to point out, like, some of the last things he said there. He talks about how the Bilderberg group is going to overthrow Hugo Chavez. Well, Alex Jones' rhetoric today is that the deep state and the big conspiracy is like behind people like Hugo Chavez. So he's completely fucking flipped the script. And which shows that you'll see in the video that I'm about to play that I repeatedly refer to him as a sellout. That's not really necessarily accurate. Really what he is just a charlatan. He's always been an opportunist. He has no integrity. He doesn't believe any of the things that he says. And back when he was pushing the Bilderberg thing, he actually kind of inadvertently provided some useful information, but he never gave a shit. It was just a way to, make money and get followers and sell videos and vitamin supplements. And now that, supporting the Trump administration is more advantageous to that, he's completely changed his narrative on it.
Millie Weaver reporting for Infowars.com. We are here at UC Berkeley, where some students are holding a stand against white supremacy rally here. So let's go talk to some of these people.
You know that the Trump administration has the highest attendee of Bilderberg attendees of any administration. Do you know that, Alex?
What's that have to do with us being here?
Because you're Infowars.
What is
and
that?
He spent years
But what is that?
Bilderberg, but he sold out. You sold out, Alex. Trump has the largest showing of Bilderberg attendees of any presidential administration because it shows that Alex is a sellout.
But you were just talking about how you were laughing. You were just talking about how you were laughing about
myself, bro. Individual.
All right, let's go. Come on.
Do I have an iPhone? No, I don't use iPhone.
So you don't support.
Have fun working
for
a sellout. Have fun working for a sellout.
Okay.
You're a sellout, Alex, and you're a traitor to humanity, Alex.
Okay, so you don't support free speech, do you? Okay, you don't support free speech, do you? Okay, but you're laughing. You're laughing that these people are trying to stop me.
Because your boss is a sellout.
You can say whatever you want.
Sellout.
You can say whatever you want.
Your boss is a sellout. He got called out by Jesse by Jesse Ventura of all people on his own damn show.
Okay. That's your opinion to exercise your First Amendment.
A tool for the elite, InfoWars. Have fun, you sellout.
A tool for the elite. Give me a break. Give me a break. That's not even true. Oh, okay. So I assume you would have wanted Hillary in, right?
You sold out at the beginning of the fucking election cycle. You know you did.
So you wanted Hillary Clinton, right?
No, Hillary is a fucking... Dude, no. Fuck the Democrats.
So you don't want anyone. Let me guess. You want communism by your clothes.
No, I'm an anarchist, you moron.
Okay, so you don't want any government. You want anarchy.
Sell out, Alex. Tell the truth, dude. Where's all your fucking railing against the elites and Bilderberg and shit anymore? Why aren't you railing against fucking
basically,
Goldman
you don't
Sachs,
have a real
Alex?
solution.
Why aren't you railing against Goldman Sachs, Alex?
You don't have a real
Sold out,
solution.
John.
Anarchy is not a real
Infowars
solution.
sold out, and it's a
The reality, okay.
for the elite.
Okay, what we're going to see now is Alex's modern narrative. You're going to see him talking about the Council on Foreign Relations, the CFR, and how they're sort of the enemy of the Trump administration, or who the Trump administration is fighting against, even though his administration is crawling with the same exact network of people that comprise the Council on Foreign Relations. And and then we're going to see him sort of weigh in on the secret society and the FBI nonsense. So, here, check it out.
Here's a story from Clifford Cunningham. CFR, global order in distress, that's their words at Davos, as Trump passes 1 year in office. Their authoritarian world government is in big trouble. We'll be talking about that in the third hour today. Now, ladies and gentlemen, here is the big news from drudgereport.com. Good one. Evidence suggests massive scandal brewing at the FBI. New York Post. Whistleblower, secret society held off-site meetings, Pajamas Media. Mystery, 5 months of missing messages. The Hill. Agent texted about deleting text. That would be absconding. That would be obstruction. That would be racketeering, and if indeed that's true. Threats of violence, Infowars.com. Knives out for the Bureau. Poll, 58% think FBI hiding something.
What this is all about is further evidence of corruption, more than bias, but corruption at the highest levels of the FBI and that secret society. We have an informant that's talking about a group that were holding secret meetings off-site. There's so much smoke here. There's so much suspicion.
Let's stop there. A secret society, secret meetings off-site of the Justice Department.
Correct.
And you have an informant saying that?
Yes.
Is there anything more about that?
No, we have to dig into it. This is not a distraction. Again, this is bias, potentially corruption at the highest levels of the FBI that is now investigating. And now and by the way, Robert Mueller used to run the FBI. He is in no position to do an investigation over this kind of misconduct. So I think at this point in time, we probably should be looking at a special counsel to undertake this investigation. But Congress is going to have to continue to dig.
Senator Ron Johnson, who was talking about the secret society, now concedes that maybe it was just a joke and not the revelation of a secret society.
Senator, this text message seems to be a comment about secret society was in jest. Do you agree that it appears to be it was in jest?
It's a real possibility.
Thank you all.
Sure this is the right turn, Jim? No.
So if Alex can't prove the secret society within the FBI nonsense, then there's always it's the abortion cult proves Trump is not a member of the elite class card.
Yeah, their final thing is abortion. It's their whole cult, their whole system. And when you go after that like he's doing, there's no way he's with the Illuminati. There's no way he's with this system. There is no way, and he'd be doing this. Zero. And, of course, my gut tells me that, too. And the churches, their gut tells them that. The real churches. That's why he liked hot women when he's, or most of that's made up. Whatever. King David, had his best friend killed so he could have his wife. He repented of it later. He did it out of the flesh. He wasn't inherently evil. Trump hasn't done 1/100th what King David, a man after God's own heart, the prototype of Christ, did. But what you judge a man by is the fruits and by the man's enemies. And by his fruits and by his enemies, this man, so many Christians have said, predestined to win, can't be stopped, all this stuff. They feel it in the spirit. And I'm kind of like, come on, let's not be that optimistic. And now, they're going to try to kill him. We already know that. They're like demons crawling around on their bellies right now, or the pigs running over the edge of the cliff. when, Christ tells Legion, not the name of the demon, but we are Legion, out of him, and the demons run into the pigs, and they run off the edge of a cliff. That's what these people are doing, the Democrats, the globalists, all of them, and then they're slaves.
Okay, so there you have it, guys. To sort of put a final recap on it, yes, the Bilderberg Group exists, and yes, they work within a large network of very nefarious, kind of secretive organizations whose sole purpose, all of them, is to do the bidding of a lot of greedy, selfish capitalists. So, I mean, it is the ultimate manifestation of capitalism. And when you start talking about things like fascism, well, one explanation for fascism is it is the manifestation of capitalism in crisis. And even Alex himself, while at the Bilderberg conference in Quebec, talked about Mussolini's quote about how the merger of state power and corporate power would better be called fascism, which is exactly what the Bilderberg Group is. It's not a conspiracy, it's just how fascism functions. And so any type of notion that Donald Trump is not a member of this ruling fascist class, or at the very, very least is doing the bidding of this class, is just beyond laughable, as exemplified by Alex Jones and all of right-wing media, including Fox News and all your right-wing YouTuber idiots. The mental gymnastics that they do to try to separate Trump from the actual greedy, fascist, corporate class that he serves. All right, guys, thanks a lot for watching. Make sure you subscribe, hit us up on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and donate to our Patreon. That'd be cool. Thanks.
A 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4.